Just getting some of that coronavirus.
And it looks like it's going to have to be modified straight out of the packet, but what's unusual about that?
Welcome back to Garage Kei. In this episode, I'll be comparing F6a engines. A lot of people will try and tell you that F6a engines are all the same, that the block is all the same. It doesn't matter whether it's an NA single cam, a turbo single cam, or a twin cam turbo. They're all the same. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not true. Now this video is a little bit choppy. I think there's some continuity errors and things like that because I filmed it on 2 different days and I didn't really prepare as well as I should have. I'm still learning about how to do this vlogging stuff and yeah, that's just something that will come with time. I go into something with no plan of how I'm going to do it, and then editing takes 3 times as long. Speaking of that, sorry this video was delayed. I've been busy answering people's questions. I have to pull that one apart today, so we're going to make this video. We're going to do it. We're going to talk about the differences between the single cam non-turbo F6a, the single cam turbo F6a, and the twin cam F6a, which was always turbo. What are the differences? Well, let's find out.
Okay, looking from the intake side, I already know what the differences are, so I'm going to point them out. Things to take notice of is that this is blocked off with a Allen key style bung, Welch plugs there, and you'll notice this lump is here. Yep, don't forget that. And here it says F6a to verify that we are talking about the same engines. Again, this is the NA single cam. Okay, going over to the turbo single cam. You can see that this lump here is being utilized with a sensor. We've got a Welch plug there. This is the same, still says F6a, and this is still blocked off. Okay, let's go to the twin cam. Twin cam. Still says F6a, got this. We don't have that raised area on this block at all. The oil pressure sensor. All right, let's talk exhaust side. Here we go. Things to note. This here. Note that. Note this. Note that. And note that. The print on the side says 657 cm3, or centimeters cubed. Okay, this is the single cam turbo. As you can see, it's cast here the same, 657 cm3. So the lump that I showed you before has now been drilled and tapped for an oil feed. Also, this platform here is being used as an oil return. Okay, now going over to twin cam. Here, oil pressure sensor, no oil pressure sensor, not drilled and tapped. Over here, this platform, not drilled and tapped, so it's the same as the NA, but this is drilled and tapped for an oil feed. The oil return goes into the sump on the twin cam. Another thing to take notice of, this platform here is drilled and tapped for an engine mount. But on the twin cam, it's not. Still has the same thing printed on the side though.
I only noticed this Welch plug when I was editing. It's on the twin cam engine, it isn't on either of the single cam blocks. Also, I didn't have a very good segue into talking about how the oil filters mount, so this is a bit weird, but yeah, the information's there, so.
The pole sticking out for the oil filter. Now if you look on the single cam turbo, it's similar, possibly the same. I'd have to check part numbers to verify that, but it looks very similar. Now, if you look on the single cam, NA version, it's completely different. So that's not the same either. Well, let's talk about the front of the engine. Okay, so we've got single cam NA here. You can see that we've got our belt, We're using a belt tensioner with a sort of a slide thing. One thing to mention on this is that there is no spring on this tensioner. It's just, well, it's not spring loaded. There's nothing really more to say about that. Also, right next to it here is the water pump. This actually comes through the cam cover, and then the water pump is driven with the alternator. I'm not a fan of that.
That's not the case with the twin cam, as you'll see. The twin cam's water pump runs off the cam belt.
Interesting that there's that bolt hole in there. I never noticed that before.
This bolt hole isn't present on the twin cam, as you'll see. Okay, let's talk about this hot topic, cam pulleys. Now you notice that the Cappuccino is unique in the fact that it has a dampener in it. You'll see that in a minute. And the reason for that is that the Cappuccino has the alternator on one side and the aircon on the other side. Unlike any other F6a, all of the other F6as have the alternator and the aircon on the same side. Therefore, you're not going to get this push and pull type deal with the belts and pulleys and things spinning. So, like an Alto or a Carry didn't need a dampener because it's all on one side. That's my theory. This one we've got a cam pulley that is actually two-piece. Has that piece there and this piece here, and it's a V-belt. So obviously the water pump runs off it as well, so does the aircon, and it's a V-belt system. On the turbo version, you have a V-belt for the aircon, but the water pump runs off a ribbed belt like that. Bit different are the diameters. The diameters are the same, as you can see. Put that back over there. Now Jimny, the diameter is actually smaller. You see that? It's using the same ribbed belt for water pump and a V-belt for aircon. Cappuccino, this has got... well, hang on, wait a minute. We didn't talk about that either. The Cappuccino has a damper on the inside. You see that? Whereas this one doesn't. And it's a dual V-belt.
This is an AZ1 crank pulley. How do I know? Because it's on an AZ1 engine that I bought. So there you go. AZ1 crank pulley. It's solid as well. Solid one piece, no dampener. So yeah, that's 5 different crank pulleys on the same engine, and there could be more. Who knows? I don't know.
Now a word from our sponsor, Harry. You get that? All right. Back to this. Ooh, crusty. That's been sitting for a long time. Gonna need a 10mm for that. We'll need a Allen key attachment for this. Very noisy indeed. This is a 6mm. Comes out easy enough, just like that. Leave the bolt there. Get rid of that. Right, let's get rid of these. Let's put this back. These have been Loctited in. Okay. Ugh. This is interesting to talk about. Very common on these, on the twin cam as well, for the seal on the back to just rot itself to pieces. When I pull that one apart, you'll probably see the exact same thing. Interesting. Okay, so the main things I'm interested in at the moment are going to be this front area here. So we'll pull this off here and be able to compare. I was supposed to have buckets organised for all of these, but never got round to doing it. Ah, okay. Here's a good question. Does this go on here? Yes, it does. So in theory, you could use a turbo water pump pulley set on a NA, in theory. Here we go. Now it's got this big clip here that's got to come off, and then we can just, oh wait, I missed one here. There we go. Should we pull it apart for science? I'm thinking, yeah, let's pull it apart for science. Okay. It's been on there a long time too. Now let's compare these. They are not the same. Can you see the differences? This is the turbo one, this is NA. They are not the same. Are they the same diameter? Yes, they are. They're exactly the same diameter, but they are not the same. Very loose indeed. Now this is using a 12mm bolt instead of a Allen key. I don't know if the 12mm bolt was actually... Is it supposed to be a 12mm bolt, or is it supposed to be the Allen like the other two? I actually couldn't tell you. We're being held on to. There we go. So that's that off. Okay. This is a twin cam pulley. They both have the same numbers on them, and they are both marked in the same location. So you could probably do that. Well, you could do that, and it wouldn't matter. Now, single cam turbo is not the same. As you can see, not the same. But single cam NA is the same. Are we having fun yet? Yep, as you can see, this is all falling apart as well. Just junk, really. Okay, now looking at the NA and the turbo single cams, I would like you to take notice of this hole here that is drilled and tapped. The water pumps are probably the same part number. I didn't check that, but they do mount in the same way. The pulley fits on both. The oil pump, you'll notice that there's an indent here on both of them, but it's not a hole, it's just an indent. Okay, here we are with the twin cam, and the first thing you'll notice is that hole isn't there. It's just not even in the casting. So yeah, the water pump is obviously different because it runs off the timing belt. This is actually where the dipstick goes in. And because the other engines lay sideways in the trucks and vans, the dipstick goes into the sump. That's about all we can talk about on here. And that is it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. If you'd like to see more, hit the subscribe button. Big shout out to Stuart and Jen for the Bunnings Warehouse hat. I am Australian, even though my accent doesn't always sound like it, and I like all things Australian. They brought me a whole bunch of snacks, so I plan to get fat eating those. Stuart and Jen will feature in a Gaijin in a car video very soon. Speaking of Gaijin in a car, there will be another episode out shortly. I've already begun editing that. I just haven't finished it because they take a long time to do. The Copen has been sent. Mark's cappuccino hasn't yet, but I'm putting a box together for him. Big shout out to Mark for, he sent me a care package. I can't believe it, but Mark sent me his old drill, and I'm really stoked about that because like I will find that so useful. So super thank you to Mark, really appreciate it. Mark sent me one of these. This is the Tri-Power Tower Delete. I'll be making a review on that very soon, so look forward to that. Don't miss it. Mark sent me a couple of these little K-trucks, so I'll be giving away at least one of those. I don't need 4, do I? Someone knows I'm an alcoholic. The Carbonator. This is a Hot Wheels car that's got a bottle opener on the back of it. Absolutely amazing. Love it. Mark also sent me some Pop-Tarts and some other snacks that were really good, and a whole bunch of stuff in a box. Thank you again, Mark. I know I messaged you and I said thanks, but here it is. From me to you, thank you very much for the care package. Really appreciate it. Talk to you soon. Everybody else, that's it for this episode. Later.